Hey guys, so since Ubuntu 15.10 has been released, a lot of us have been looking to see what Ubuntu have in store for 16.4. So 16.4, the next release of Ubuntu, is going to be a long-term support release. So for those of you that don't know, the long-term support versions of Ubuntu are released once every 2 years, and they're really designed more for server use or people that want desktop machines, but they don't really want to maintain them. They want a very low maintenance machine. This comes possibly at the expense of the latest and greatest software in the repositories, but again, you get the benefit of low maintenance and a degree of stability as well. If you come across an error and fix it, that's 2 years, presuming you come across that error at the beginning of the installation process. That's 2 years before you even have to think about it again. And by, that far down the line, it could very well have been patched or another solution could very well have been found. So yeah, this is going to be a very widely deployed operating system. So it's always interesting to see what Ubuntu and Canonical have in store, because it often lends a good roadmap for the shape of Ubuntu, and also in many cases, from many perspectives, wider Linux as well, because Ubuntu, of course, is very much a very popular distribution right now, and it's seen as the de facto Linux distribution for desktops, certainly in the case of a lot of retailers. And whenever I see Linux in the wild, it does tend to be the Ubuntu Unity desktop, which, I got to admit, is far from my favorite desktop, but I change desktops as often as I change socks. And but I've never managed to get along with Unity. Almost every other desktop environment I can really kind of get to grips with and get into a decent workflow with. Even the latest GNOME desktops, but Ubuntu's Unity is just something I couldn't get past. So anyway, there are a few interesting features. In fact, there are quite a lot of interesting features for this release of Ubuntu, because usually the long-term support release, they don't usually have any drastic design changes, often to... this distribution is going to be used for for some time to come, so they often sort of play the safer choices, but not this time. They're actually bringing in quite a few new features. They're removing what people call the spyware, which I guess is a legitimate description of it. It's basically the online search in the menu, which is switched on by default on current versions of the Ubuntu Unity desktop. Only the Ubuntu Unity desktop, by the way. And it saves your search history and uses it to... sends it off to the Amazon advertising people. So a lot of people will be pleased that is now... It's actually off by default. But that is long overdue. A lot of people are very, very happy about that. And a lot of people probably are likely now going to feel a lot more confident in recommending Ubuntu to a lot of newcomers to Linux, as with privacy being that sort of cornerstone that often attracts a lot of people, especially whenever a new version of Windows, of course, comes around. We often get a lot of people that sort of jump ship and come over to our side. So what else is there? The ability to move the Unity launcher. So the Unity side dock has never been able to be moved without third-party extensions, and typically speaking, third-party extensions to manage your desktop is something that I personally advise against, because whenever you they break during upgrades a lot. I have yet to see third-party plugins work consistently on any desktop, from GNOME to a lot of the smaller ones as well. Usually the best plugins are the first-party ones made by the people that also make the desktop environment, or the people that communicate and are involved with the people that make the desktop environment. So so it's good that they're bringing this in. It's about time too, but and also I think that would, in the cases of a lot of screen layouts as well, especially people with multiple monitors, that's a lot more of a preferable solution to have a top and bottom kind of layout rather than a left and right one. Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, it's a very small thing, and I'm probably never really going to seriously use the Unity desktop, but it's something that I did specifically feel that was missing. Another one is that they're developing a new USB startup creator. This is actually quite important, and I am really glad that they actually decided to do this. Now they're building it themselves, so this is an in-house product, which is pretty cool. Because I know that a lot of people tend to recommend now writing your ISOs to USB using a command called DD, which is a command line application. It's very easy to use, but people still are intimidated by the command line, and a program like DD, which requires sudo permissions and can go quite horribly wrong if you select the wrong partition or the wrong device or whatever. So it is definitely good that they're actually including this. I think USB startup, there is a deficiency in the market because there used to be quite a lot of them, but programs that like UNetBootin and the one that comes standard currently with Ubuntu, they're not that great for writing other distributions that aren't Ubuntu. Ubuntu works with those kind of USB startup writers, but the trouble with them is that they don't do the device partitioning properly. So that a lot of distributions, I know that Antergos and Manjaro, I think, are affected by these, as well as OpenSUSE. And I found that out when I was, when I was testing out all the distributions, that it was a problem that I came up against. And I found it to be a reasonably new problem. But I don't know if that's as part reason, if that's workflow or if that's just how the game has changed. They're bringing in support for ZFS file system, but it seems like they're not going to be setting it as the default file system. As an end user and someone who has kind of only been following the fringes of the of the news surrounding all the different file systems, I got to say this is for me not an issue that it's not a make or break issue for me personally, but I understand that it's a lot of problem. That it's certainly problematic that ZFS is not particularly well supported on Linux when it is on other operating systems, but it's looking like Ubuntu are just going to run out in front and they're going to support it the best they can, but they're not going to be making it default. That seems to be a pretty brave move, but a sensible one at the same time. It's certainly not the most outlandish thing they can do to try and sort of push forward the Linux is relevant agenda in the file system kind of way, but Ubuntu definitely want to take a lead with it, and they really need to get it right, because if ZFS is pushed too early, it is going to really, really, really get some bad press, I feel. So let's hope Canonical and Ubuntu know what they're doing, but I suspect they're putting more than a few pounds into it. So the last one I've got down here on my notes is they are getting rid of the Ubuntu Software Center for the GNOME Software Center. That is a very, very interesting choice, especially considering that it seems like they're going to be continuing to maintain the Ubuntu Software Center, but not including it in the main distribution. That's very, very interesting. I got to admit, it is a choice that I would have made. The GNOME Software Center is actually really quite good. So I don't see why you wouldn't use it. You might as well use it, There's no point in spending time developing your in-house solution if it's just as easy to bring in someone else's pre-made solution and does the job even better. So there are plenty more changes that are going to come with Ubuntu 16.04. They haven't all been released yet. Or announced yet, and that's down to the fact that the feature freeze is about a month away now. That's when they stop active development and building new things, and that's when they start testing and shoring up and fixing up all the holes and everything. So there is this is not going to be a complete list, but it certainly looks like this is going to be a good distribution, and it certainly looks like it's a return to form for the Ubuntu desktop, and that's what I like to see, because the more momentum there is with the Ubuntu desktop, it brings momentum with it, and it's generally what's good for any desktop Linux distribution. Is generally better for everyone. That's sort of the nature of how open source works. So even if you are not an Ubuntu user, and at the current point of recording this, I am not an Ubuntu user. I'm actually currently on the Manjaro KDE distribution, and I gotta say, actually, when it comes to Manjaro, I'm not going to sort of tangent too much on it, but it's become my main driver because I've really become addicted to the latest software that you can get in the repositories there. But also, as far as I'm concerned, the KDE version of Manjaro is the definitive version. It's the sort of the cohesion and the the nature of the KDE desktop, which works with all its parts, sort of working together in synchronicity. That works really, really well on top of a pretty dynamic operating system. So it just keeps its ecosystems well maintained, I guess, is my way of putting it. It sort of results in a little bit more, or significantly more, stability and a lot more polish than perhaps the other GTK-based desktop environments. But I don't know when that kind of warms up right now. Apologies for the rambling, but you know what I'm like on this channel. And apologies for not being able to have the camera up, but it's actually currently recording something else, which you'll no doubtly see in the future. So thank you very much for listening to me today. Please leave your comments down in the comment section below. I'm getting quite a lot of comments these days, but they've always been incredibly insightful and thoughtful. So I apologize if I can't reply to every single one of them, but I can assure you that for the next couple of days after releasing a video, I do make sure that I read every comment that goes up on the comment section, just so you know where I'm at with that. So thank you very much for listening, guys. Let me know what you think, and until next time, I've been Chris Ware, and you've been awesome. Take care now.